Beep, 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 beep. Morning all, how are we? Ha ha! Right, this is another glorious day. See a bit of sun out there, so I think it's going to be nicer today than it was yesterday, where I got completely wet. Actually, sopping wet on my way home from a tremendous brunch with fantastic people after the launch of Transpositions there with my friend Joe and Sarah of the Fillmore and various other persons. It was great. Okay, so nice brunch and all that business. Let's get back to what's going on today. So I thought today, going to take a look at The Guardian. Don't do that very often because it makes me nauseous, right? But we'll have a look at The Guardian. So, a Guardian opinion piece written by, of all people, Anneliese Dodds. God help me now, okay? Oh, it's just as bad as reading something by the far right when you have to read something by the far left, isn't it? Okay, so, Labour will lead on reform of transgender rights and we won't take lectures from the divisive Tories. It's without a hint of irony. Without one single hint of irony in that statement from Anneliese Dodd, right? We will modernise, simplify and reform gender recognition law. Our policies won't please everyone, but we will do what's right. Absolutely, culturally tone deaf. Not just culturally tone deaf, historically tone deaf, economically tone deaf, and from a position of statehood. An extraordinary statement for a sitting MP to make in relation to exactly what it is she's saying we're going to get our head round. So let's move on and talk through it. And we'll see, let's get some controversy going, some conversation, some controversy. A mix of culture wars and trans debate. Not the economy, not the NHS, not any of Rishi Sunak's 5 increasingly dubious pledges. No, according to the Conservative Party Deputy Chairman Lee Anderson, the Tory election campaign should be built around demonising vulnerable LGBT plus people. Right, so here we go. First paragraph, Dodds force teams lesbian, gay people and bisexual people with the T again, and plus. Right? Stop doing it, Anneliese. It's doing you no favours, right? Tory action campaign should be built. So the LGBTI, all the alphabet letter people have nothing to do with gays and lesbians, Anneliese, and you need to start getting your head around that. Okay? They are a hard left bunch of nutters. Got it, dear? Good, yeah. And I'm using dear deliberately to be condescending because I find your opinion piece absolutely condescending, as you'll discover as we go through, right? So, it is a sad reflection on just how little in a way of positive vision that government now has to offer the British people, says the woman who wants to take us back to a time where we don't recognise reality. Don't! Right, now. Even the word debate is a misnomer, a hint of the calculating cynicism the Tories now bring to such issues. Good God Almighty, Dodds, the rubbish that you've liked, the rubbish that you've spouted, the absolute nonsense you've talked over the last few years, and you have the cheek to put this into words? You really are duplicitous, do you know that? Duplicitous. To the core. I won't beat around the bush. I'm saying nothing. I won't beat around the bush. The reason for Anderson's interest is the opportunity to stoke division. My God. My God. This from a woman who has done nothing but stoke division by backing the alphabet people to the hilt and treating women and men, gay men in particular, with appalling disdain. It's beyond the pale. What kind of individual does this? So he's there to stoke division. Arguments about the boundaries between sex and gender-based rights now rank amongst the fiercest in politics. Yep, because one's real and the other's a fantasy. Labour my arse. Both sides argue, rightly, that they advocate for some of the most vulnerable people in our society. That's not true. That's not true. It's just a lie. Stop it. It's just a lie. Right? So, to begin with, what we've got here is we're saying this is the situation, but Anneliese has refused to give us any definitions of what she means within this article that she has written, her opinion piece. So go on, tell me, Anneliese, because I'm waiting and so are many other people. What does trans exactly mean? What does gender exactly mean? Can we have your definitions, please? Because I'd like to know if you're suggesting here that transvestites, cross-dressing men, eunuchs, right, and autogynephiles are vulnerable people. Are they, Anneliese? Are they? It's so culturally tone deaf. I nearly coughed up my breakfast this morning. Both sides argue, rightly, that... Stop you both-sided moron, that they advocate for some of the most vulnerable people in our society. This should encourage a degree of care from responsible politicians. Responsible politicians would understand that this isn't a debate to exploit. So it's now a debate, but you shouldn't exploit it. There's no debate before. Anneliese. Anneliese, give your head a doddle. That's what I reckon, woman. What's the matter with you? Right. All too frequently they suffer violence. So who are they? This should encourage a degree of care for responsible politicians. Responsible politicians will understand that this isn't a debate to exploit. It's people's lives. Yeah, you ain't kidding. Those of us that have lost our living. Yep. It's them, isn't it, as well? You're not forgetting them, are you, Anneliese? Right, in your bid to help these vulnerable people. Those of us that have lost our living. The organisations that have internal Stasi to make sure you're not saying the wrong things. You do, because that's all part of the same stuff. You know that, right, Anneliese? You've got it? Sure? Right. It's people's lives. Who they are and who, all too frequently, they suffer violence for being. Dear God. Won't even accept the simple fact that the vast majority of this violence comes from the TRAs, and it's not a feature. It's not a bug, it's a feature, right? It is a feature. And that these men are often incredibly violent during their process of dealing with their fetish and paraphilia. Read a trans widow story, Anneliese, you disingenuous dung beetle. Right. They suffer violence for being. They do. No. It's the lies, isn't it? You just can't get past the lies. Responsible politicians would put that well beyond electoral opportunism, but this is a different and desperate Tory party. I don't understand what she means. The Tory party has taken polls to look at the evidence. The Tory party is looking at an evidence-based solution to this problem when we know that the evidence says that you'd get rid of the whole thing. Right? We know that. Okay, it's just a matter of the Tories catching up and finding the guts to do it. Labour's going the other way. They're saying, let's just go back a bit and then start again from here. The Labour, this is Anneliese Dodd doing a Mott and Bailey. The tragedy is that transgender rights, what are they? Anneliese, give me what they are. Transgender rights do not reform leadership. When the last Labour government passed 2004 Gender Recognition Act and the 2010 Equality Act, we broke new political ground. You certainly did. You broke the entire system. We broke new political ground. The former enabled trans people to legally change their gender for the first time. Meanwhile, the latter protected them and millions of people covered by one of 9 protected characteristics. Again, she's got it wrong. She's got it wrong. It's insane. Labour can't get it right. Taken together, they are one of Labour's crowning achievements. Really? But it was only some 20 years earlier that we were voting against, a bit more than that, 30, 40 years earlier, you were voting against decriminalising homosexuality. But, plus a charge. But now in 2023, we have a much better understanding of the barriers trans people face. Again, who are they? Who are you talking about, Anneliese? What? The gunk-pumping tit-wankers? Is that the ones you're talking about? Is that the ones you mean, is it? Eh? Or the panty sniffers? What about the bra fumblers? Them? Which ones, Anneliese? How about the ones that don't want any cock or balls at all and they'd like to be eunuchs? Them? Who? Who are you talking about, Anneliese? Please specify, because we need to know. Obviously, if the Labour Party are going to, hold the line on this and do something really fantastic. Tell us who you're talking about. Is it the homophobic ones? Is it the stupid women that think they're men, or the stupid men that think they're women? Which one is it? And to what degree is the public going to have to be complicit in your absolute unbelievable lies? What are you going to do when we don't? We know what comes next after that, don't we? Especially with the left. Now. Right. Labour in 2000, right now, a better understanding of trans people face, I know what they mean. That is why Labour is committed to modernising the Gender Recognition Act. Here we go. Changing gender is not a decision anyone makes lightly. Are you nuts? Where have you been? Right, the truth of the matter is there's only about 3,000 people with a GRC in this country, and the problem we've got is that it's not the people that would really want a GRC for whatever reason they decide they want one. Although we now know that when they do the whole surgery thing, the damage post-surgery is so unbelievably bad that it literally puts it in the realm of Frankenstein territory and needs to be stopped across the board. Across the board. And not funded by the public purse in any way whatsoever. It's a cosmetic procedure, that's it. So we're going to say they're going to committed to modernising. Right, this is going to be fun, isn't it? The Labour Party, modernising. Solidarity if you ever. The 1980s is calling. That is why Labour is committed to modernising the Gender Recognition Act. Changing gender is not a decision anyone makes lightly. The process is intrusive, outdated and humiliating. Yeah, that's called safeguarding. So we will modernise, simplify and reform the gender recognition law to a new process. We will remove invasive bureaucracy and simplify the process. However, the law must also protect legitimate applications. Last year, the Scottish National Party's cavalier approach to reforming gender recognition laws seemed to be more about picking a fight with Westminster than bringing about meaningful change. The safeguards that were proposed to protect women and girls from predators who might abuse the system were simply not up to scratch. As a result, the Scottish Government is still picking up the pieces, with trans rights no further forward. They are literally insane. I think the jig is up, Anneliese. But there we go. We will not make the same mistakes. The requirement to obtain a medical diagnosis of gender dysphoria remains an important part of accessing a gender recognition certificate. Right, what you're not recognising there is, Anneliese, is the basic fundamental flaw with the law. That you don't have to have one. Right, they're not going to address that, because the Tories aren't going to address that. Then nobody is going to address that, because nobody wants to go, right, let's get rid of the GRA, it's a load of crap in it. Just get rid of it. What Anneliese is saying here, that they're going to maintain the requirement, which now puts them at odds with the trans rights activists. Right. Right, here's the scary bit, okay? The requirement to obtain a medical diagnosis of gender dysphoria remains an important part of assessing a gender recognition certificate. That's especially the case now that gender dysphoria is no longer classified and stigmatised as a psychiatric disorder. She doesn't even understand how that happened. She doesn't understand what's been going on in the background. She doesn't understand the LARPing men in dresses that are pushing this. She doesn't get any of it, right? Right, right. So I want to cut off my leg and my left arm, and somebody poke a stick in my eye. Thanks, you know. Yep, I'm sane. She doesn't get it. If wanting to butcher your body and deny the absolute reality of the entirety of your living, if you want to alter the body to give in to some spirit idea that some kind of Cartesian dualism that means you can match what your body should be to your mind, you are not well. If you think that you can do that surgically, socially and culturally, you are not well. It is the fact that it's been declassified that's the problem. Reclassify the damn thing. Stop listening to the bloody WPATH and DVSM and those nutters that are holding sway over all this. Dodds doesn't know the first thing about this, and she should shut up and sit down. It can help refer trans people into the NHS for support services. What support services? If it's not a psychiatric or a medical condition, what support services? They don't need any. What do they need, Anneliese? Tell us. Nearly a quarter of trans people don't know how to access transition-related healthcare. I reckon 3/4 of them don't even know what it is. What is it? What is it? Let's cut your bits off. Here's some drugs. Have some hormones. This'll do you. You'll be all right. That's what got us in the mess. And Dodd here and her compatriots want to take us back to the status damn quo without changing a thing. When our most important factor on this is to ensure this never happens again to children. The current process also requires a panel of anonymous doctors to decide something. I take it that those doctors are anonymous to the public, not the individual. They're not sat there with 3 bags on their heads going, yeah, I'm down with it. Right? No, that's what they mean, isn't it? Please tell me that's what they mean. No, you'd just blindfold the person, wouldn't you? Right, tell us why you want a gender recognition. Don't touch the blindfold, please. What a joke. The current process also requires a panel of anonymous doctors to decide something of momentous significance. Right, momentous significance. Right, okay. Based on reams of intrusive medical paperwork and evidence of any surgery. You want society to lie for this person, and you think that that's intrusive. Anneliese? You want the rest of society to live a lie for this person, and you think we're the ones being intrusive? The hell is wrong with you, Dodd? This is demeaning for trans people. No such thing. What do you mean? Tell us what you mean. And meaningless in practice. A diagnosis provided by one doctor with a registrar instead of a panel should be enough. Okay, where do we think that's going to go? Where do we think that's going to go? They'll be advertising it all over the internet forums before you know it. You'll have a mass of people applying for this certificate that allows them to pretend there's something they're not and access spaces they don't belong in. Not only that, it will also allow them to keep this lie going and keep gender identity ideology going in schools, alongside queer theory and critical race theory and everything else that comes with this baggage nonsense. And if you don't get that those things are connected, then you are the problem. It has to be called out for the lie that it is and ended immediately. I can't. This is surreal from Labour. Absolutely surreal. No doubt for the likes of Mr. Anderson. I wonder what she means by that. Even this will prove too much. Yeah, like me. Like so many, his party now seems keen to attack Labour's commitment to women. How dare you? How dare you flip that like that and force team women with these bloody men? How dare you? For shame, woman. To attack Labour's commitment to women. My God. Right, we will take no lectures from him or any Conservatives. Certainly not when rape charges and prosecutions are so appallingly low and the gender pay gap is widening. Is it me? Or did she just go through a whole damn thing about undermining the very concept of what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman, and then threw in rape charges and prosecutions to attack the Conservative Party because she knows damn well that the first 5 paragraphs are a wibbling nonsense, haven't got a damn leg to stand on? Is this the level of politician we want representing us in Parliament? Is this the level of discourse that we now see from the left? And in some cases from the right, see Caroline Noakes. Is this the type of rhetoric we're going to get throughout the election season? Because if so, we need a none of the above box so we can deal with them. Moreover, says Noakes, says Arban woman, let me be clear, we are proud of the Equality Act and will oppose any Conservative attempt to undermine it. Nobody said they're going to undermine it. We will protect and uphold it in government, including both its protected characteristics and its provision for single-sex exemptions. You make no bones about it. The minute they get to add pansexuals and numpties, trans-ableists and all the bloody numpties that want under it with their ridiculous special identities, they'll do it. A vote for Labour is a vote against women and a vote against children. It's that simple. Go and have a read of it, because it makes me sick, right? And here's a final thing to say, right? I had a brilliant couple of days. Right? And I met some fantastic women. And most of these women are on the left. And they find themselves in turmoil about this because they find themselves in turmoil about what the whole thing means. So I have some honest, heartfelt questions to ask those women on the left. So I'll make the statement and then you can bitch at me and see whether we can find some way of me understanding this, because right now I don't understand it. If you do not recognise that what gender identity ideology, queer theory and critical race theory represent is an attack upon the very foundation of our civilization, an attempt to unhitch us from the basic fact that we are male or female. If you don't understand that that underpins everything that follows, then you have not been paying attention. If you do not understand that if they are able to remove that anchor, that the ship of humanity will float away and clash on nasty rocks on the way where we can't tell what's up and what's down, if you don't recognise that this movement is not about the individual, but a collective idea that will undermine education, it will undermine science, it will undermine our politics, our culture, our economies, it will undermine everything. If you don't understand that that's what it is its root, then you will never end this, and we will be damned to years of horror before we finally come to our senses again. Years of horror. If you don't understand that's what it is, and if you put your political blinders on before you recognise that's what it is, we will all fail. We will all fail. At this point, the only party that's got even the vaguest grasp on how dangerous this stuff is the Conservative Party. And I know you don't like that, and I know it bothers you, and I know you don't want to vote for me. I know all of that, and I feel it, right? Because if this was not in play, what's going on with gender identity and queer theory and children and all that stuff, if this wasn't in play, I wouldn't be voting Tory. I think we need them to be kicked in the nards so hard that they reorganise themselves and get rid of the wishy-washy leadership they've currently got. I wouldn't be voting Tory. But this, to many people, including people I've spoken to on the left, is a single issue. Vote. The general election to come up, and they are going to vote on a single issue vote. If the Tories have got any sense, they'll make it massive in terms of being a single issue vote. Right? If you can't take off your political blinders and recognise an article like this by somebody like Dodds is a disingenuous Mott and Bailey that is designed to make you think it's all going to be all right post-election, then I don't know what you're thinking at all. Because that's what it is. That's a sop to make women who are left-leaning think that Labour are going to do the right thing. They are not going to. Their paymasters, the unions, won't let them for a start. They are not going to do the right thing. And it's very tenuous that the Tories are. So I reckon you've got, 100 to 1 odds on Labour and 99 to 1 odds on Tory. I'll vote Tory. If you vote Labour, then you will vote to continue this. If you don't vote Labour, i.e. you don't vote anything, then you will take a neutral stance that you'll never forgive yourself for. That's my thinking, right? That's my analysis, because I vote on issues. I don't vote for parties. Are you going to do this? Yeah, you're not. Right, you get my tick. I vote on issues, right? So, but it bothers me. It bothers me that the brilliant women on the left, that you'll fall for shit like this because it makes you feel better. That is the most disingenuous article I've read throughout the entirety of this bloody nonsense I've been involved in for the last 5 years. It's a Mott and Bailey on a gram scale. It's like a mini reverse ferret. Dear God Almighty, do not believe a word this woman says. She has form. But yet you'll grasp it. Oh, look, Labour are finally going to do what's right. They are not going to do what's right. They are telling you what you want to hear. Please, please do not fall. Do not fall. Because the future of our children depend on it. Our children, I haven't got kids. But the future of the children of this country depend on it. The future of the gay boy who was me depend on it. The lesbian woman who was my friend Jo. Her child. Her as a child depends on it. The autistic people who are drawn to this because it seems to offer a strange stability. Do not falter. Do not falter in your stance that under no circumstances will you accept any compromise with gender identity ideology, queer theory, or critical race theory, or any of this critical social justice nonsense. Take off your partisan blinders, because if you don't, you're just as ideological as they are. I'll see you later.